Point C project in Somerset approved the funding at a board meeting. Contracts were due to be signed later today, but then late last night, the Business Secretary, Greg Clark, said the government will now consider carefully all the component parts of the project and make its decision in the early autumn. According to reports, EDF's Chief Executive, Vincent de Ravaz, cancelled a trip to the UK that he was due to make today following that news. Tom Greatrex is Chief Executive of the Nuclear Industry Association, and he joins us from Hinkley. Morning to you, Tom.
Good morning.
How did you feel when you heard the news from the government?
Well, I think it's important to underline that yesterday EDF's decision from their perspective and making that the authority to go ahead with the final investment decision was the thing that, there'd been a lot of speculation for and people were waiting for. The next stage now is for the government to effectively endorse that and to enable the construction of the site down here to continue along with the preparatory works which are happening at the moment.
But did you not think that was just a rubber stamping job? Because everyone else seemed to think it was just a sort of matter of routine.
And it may well be that it is a matter of routine. We have a new Prime Minister, a new Chancellor of the Exchequer, a new Energy Secretary, Energy and Business and Industrial Strategy Secretary. So there's new people in those significant posts. It's a big, important project. It's a significant size of contract, and if it takes them through to September to get to a position to get to the next stage on this, then September is the time frame that we were expecting, frankly, from what the French government was saying.
But they could have made this announcement at any time in the past month. They chose instead to watch the speculation, wait until EDF had confirmed they were going ahead with it, and then said, right, we're going to have a review. Does seem a bit cynical.
Well, it seems to me that this is a big, significant project, as I'm sure you've discussed a number of times, that will generate 7% of our electricity needs, that provides low-carbon baseload power, which we're going to need, given how much has gone offline in the last 6 years and how much will go offline in the next 14 years. That'll be 2/3 of our generating capacity in that time. So those fundamentals haven't changed. But the government, there are different people in senior positions in government than there were a couple of weeks ago, and we need to make sure that they're ready to get on and do this. I think the important point about this is, though, that from a perspective of the decisions on EDF, they are ready now. They've got the money committed, the authority from the board for the chief executive of EDF Group to sign those contracts and to get on with it. We now need the government to, pretty quickly, actually, if they're serious about what the things that they were talking about in terms of industrial strategy, in terms of infrastructure, and in terms of the pressing needs we have for energy, to enable this to get on. There is a supply chain that has been built up over the past few years. There's lots of people that have been through training to be ready to start the significant work that needs to happen to turn this site here into the power station that will generate 7% of our power. If the government are going to take a few weeks, then they'll take a few weeks. But what's important is that we get to a point where we can get this power station built. And the sentence before the one you quoted from what Greg Clark said last night was reiterating the point that, from a government's view, they see new nuclear as being an integral part of that future energy mix. This is the first of a number of projects, and we need to get on with that if we're going to have confidence we're able to deliver those nuclear projects to give the country the reliable baseload low carbon power that we need to underpin our energy system for the future.
Now, talking of reliability, the precedent for the design that is being built at Hinkley Point C, or we think will be built at Hinkley Point C, is a French reactor at Flamanville, which has been massively over budget and hugely delayed in its construction. Would it not have been, in retrospect, Tom, more prudent to have gone for a simpler design of reactor?
Well, the EPR, which is the reactor design, has been through the UK's regulatory process in terms of the design being assessed and has got that been through that process. There are two other reactor designs that are going through that process. One for a project in North Wales, one for a project in Cumbria. They're different reactor designs. All three of those are important projects if we're going to fill that gap. And the precedent in relation to Flamanville, there are lots of things that happened and have happened at Flamanville, which is now 99.5% constructed and will start generating power, I think, end of 2018 now. But there are lots of things which won't happen on this site. For example, they started redesigning part of the way after starting building, which is always a thing that's going to add time and
never
money
ideal, is what you're saying.
It's never ideal, and that was because post Fukushima. Now, the important thing to remember in terms of the UK is that post Fukushima, there were Mike Wakeman, the government's the regulator's chief inspector, did a review at that time. Any issues have been designed into this reactor in terms of the UK version of it before anything has started, and also EDF has spent a long time with contractors and preferred status bidders and the supply chain and doing all the preparatory work, which wasn't done in the same way at Flamanville. So I think those two things make a significant difference, because there's a lot of it has been about project management rather than the technology design at Flamanville.
And this is the last nuclear reactor that will ever be built in the UK?
Well, it depends. If we want to have a secure, reliable baseload to underpin our energy mix, if we want to do that in as low carbon way as possible, because we have binding UK and international, soon to be international commitments, then no, it won't be. The government retain, as Greg Clark said last night, their view that new nuclear has to be part of that future mix. And if that's the case, there's this project, there's a project in North Wales, there's a project in Cumbria that are moving towards the end of the period of time where they go through getting their design approved by the regulator, and then we'll then be ready to move ahead. And if we're serious about those issues, and those fundamental issues haven't changed, they were the same issues we had before the referendum, before the change of Prime Minister, those issues are still here. The clock has been ticking for some time. The clock is ticking now. We're running out of time to be able to deal with those issues. Then if we're going to address those issues, then there isn't a way of doing it without new nuclear being part of that future mix, and therefore that means this project and other projects need to go ahead.
Tom, thanks very much indeed. Tom Greatrex, Chief Executive of the Nuclear Industry Association, joining us live from Hinkley Point.